Now let's have you guys try to model something that has tabs designed into it. Create a new document and let's just name it Simple Box with Tabs. The first step you want to do is just make a square on the top plane. The size of the square does not matter, just enter a random number. And now you're ready to add your first tabs. Usually when you design something with tabs, you want to think it through about where you're going to place them, how many you're going to place, and like the thickness and size. But for this, we'll just do one tab in the center of each side of the square. So again, the height of these tabs have to be the same value as the thickness of our side of our box. So we will be making the thickness of our box, each side will be 1/8 of an inch thick, so 0.125 inches. When you make the tab, if you're going to use the center point rectangle, all you need to do on each side is find that midpoint of the line, and you know it's the midpoint or center because there's going to be like an orange box around it. If you click and drag out, you can see you're making a tab now, or it's about to be a tab. You can see that we can make the tab as long as the side, but we don't want to do that. So we will just make the tab about maybe 1 inch. And then for, again, the height, we want it to be the same value as our thickness, but because we're making a full rectangle, we only need the top half of that rectangle. We have to double that, so it's actually to be 0.25. The reason we do this is so that, again, this part right here, this orange rectangle, is our tab. We don't need the bottom half, but the reason we made the entire rectangle height 0.25 is because half of that is 1/8 or 0.125, which is the thickness we want or the height we want. So let's just repeat this on all 4 sides. So 0.25 and then 1. .25 and then 1. Okay. Now that we have our square and we have tabs on each side of the square, we are done with this sketch. When we go to extrude this bottom of our box, click on the extrude button and make sure that you click all the faces and regions. So we want this entire rectangle on each side for our tab. If you rotate around, you can see that it defaults to 1 inch, but again, we want 0.125. So make sure to change that depth or thickness. And now we have the bottom of our box. Now we just need 4 sides. And this is very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to create a sketch on each side of the bottom. So do another sketch, click one of the sides. Right click, view normal sketch plane so that we see it. And you can kind of see that there's like this middle rectangle here surrounded by the 2 other rectangles. That's just dividing it up from what you see in that view. We actually want to make this rectangle taller. So we want the length of the rectangle to be matching that side. But we want the height to be, again, an arbitrary number. I'm going to go ahead and just make it 6 because that's the same as the other one. And then make sure again that you don't make this rectangle too big and that it's the same size as the side. Perfect. And because we want our sides to also have tabs on them, we don't want to put a tab in the bottom because the bottom already has a tab there. So that'll take care of connecting the bottom to the side, but we have to take care of the connections from side to side. So on the 2 sides, left and right, we're going to do the same thing. A center point rectangle. One inch long, 0.25 thick. And then we can extrude that out. Make sure that you're making this a new part. So again, it'll default to add, but we want new. And then make sure it's 0.125. And we should be good. So you can click the checkmark button. You see that you get this weird like half blue, half gray, and that's just because again we didn't do our booleans yet, so our two parts are intersecting each other or touching each other where the tab is, and this is kind of how the computer represents this. So let's just repeat this process on each side. Go to your next side and do the same thing. Make another corner rectangle box. And this time we want to match it up with the first side we've done. So we want the outside surface of the first side we just did. Click. And this time we also have to do a decreased number of tabs because again, our first side we made has a tab and the bottom has a tab. So we only need one more tab for this box. Click the checkmark button. Make sure it's a new part. 0.125 depth. We have our second side. I'm going to hide all of the planes that's the default geometry because I think it just looks easier to model without them there. So onto the third side. Do the same thing. Corner rectangle. And then again, we just need a single tab in the center. We can extrude this side out now as new, 0.125. Boom. And now we are on our last side. Corner rectangle, making sure that I include the thickness of the sides I've already made, and boom. This does not need any tabs because again, the other sides we've already made has the tabs already. So we can just extrude this square as a square. I forgot this one part here. If you do, again, just go to your feature tree, right click on the feature you want to edit, and then you can select what else you need to select or change whatever you need to change. So now you should have this box with tabs on certain sides and the bottom. The last thing you need to do is boolean away all of the intersecting parts. So you're going to have a lot of booleans. So click on the boolean tool and we just want the subtract one. Click on your tools. So for us, we want the tool to be the bottom of our box. And we want the targets to be every side we made for our box. And we want to make sure to keep our tools because we want to keep the bottom of the box there. Once we click that checkmark button, you can see that when you go down, oh, I forgot this side too. Let me fix that real fast. There we go. And I forgot this side here. Oh. You can see that that grayish blue looking like weird thing is no longer there because we just cut the tab out of all the sides. So if I hide the bottom, you can see all the sides have that tab cut out now. So if we were to laser cut this out now, we would be able to fit the bottom perfectly onto the sides. Oh, I also forgot this. Go back and fix that. So again, even if you mess up, you can go back to all of your features and just adjust. So we did that for the bottom, but now we need to do that for each of the sides. Again, subtract, and we want to click our tools. We can't just click every side as both our tools and our targets because we're just going to make them all disappear. So we have to do them one by one. So click on 2 sides at a time. So one side as our tool, and then the targets can be the sides that are touching them. So for example, this blue side, this dark blue side is my tool, and the 2 sides that are touching it are the gray sides. So those are my targets. And the reason you can choose both of them as your targets is because the gray sides are not touching each other. They only touch one tool, which is the dark blue side. Make sure Keep Tools is checkmarked. Click the green checkmark button, and boom. Boolean, subtract, click on another tool, and then the target is again the 2 that are surrounding it. Oh, I clicked on 3. There we go. Go to the next side and do the same thing. I missed a few tabs here, so I'm just making sure I catch them all. Or something went wrong. So if something's gone wrong like it did for me, again, you can use the gray bar and just kind of roll back. So our first Boolean was for the bottom, which is perfect. Our second one is where things went a little weird. So if you did too many tools, you can just kind of cross them out and redo it. Okay, it looks like I fixed all my mistakes. You may need to play around with your booleans a little bit, just like I did. But now you can see that every side that has a tab is connected perfectly and cut out perfectly. Alright, what I want you guys to try to do is try to make a top for this box, and let's close it up. So to get you started, just click Sketch and go to the top plane or the top surface of your box. Right-click View Normal Sketch Plane, and from here, I want you guys to try and make some tabs. And there you have it. We have a lid that has tabs to hold onto the sides. So I hope you were able to make your own lid as I did. But to go through some of the common mistakes that you might make that I also made, just remember when you make your entire rectangle, it's not the outside. We just want the inside. So I accidentally made this outside rectangle that's not actually needed. So we can actually delete that. We just wanted to do a corner rectangle from the inside of the sides to the opposite corner. Again, is the inside. And then when we make our boolean, we want to make sure to get all of the sides. So I used a top as my tool and then all the sides as my target, and I made sure to keep the tool or the top. And now you have a very simplified box. To get some more practice, I would like you guys to make this a letter box. Take a letter, any letter of your choosing, and do the same thing we did. Start with that letter as your base and extrude that up. Make sure to give it some sides. So as you can see here, I'm getting all the sides here. Add your tabs to the sides you want tabs on. Then for me, because it was a letter and it was a symmetric letter, all I did is I mirrored half of those parts over to get my full box, or all the sides of this triangle, or sorry, letter A. To get the inside of the the letter, it just looks like a triangle. To get the inside of this letter, I had to make sure that all the sides were straight. So if you look really closely, the inside of this A is actually curved. And we needed it to be straight. So I just drew 2 lines to make it straight so that the inside of our A is just an actual triangle, not a weirdly shaped, like curved triangle. And then I did more sides, added more tabs, and then did a couple booleans. So see if you can't take a letter of your choosing and make it into like a box with tabs.